Hey up everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. Tonight's video is going to be about promotion and relegation in the NRL. Can it work? Before I get into that video, I've reached 600 subscribers. Thank you very much to everyone that subscribed to my channel recently. My goal was to get to 500 subscribers by the end of January. I smashed that and now I'm at 600, so I guess my next goal is to get to 650. So I'm very, very grateful that I got a wonderful group of subscribers and followers out there. I've got to 600 and I'm dead pleased with that, so thank you very much. Getting back into this video though about promotion and relegation in the NRL. Occasionally, when you see it on Facebook or you see some people post about it and they go, oh, we should have two conferences, we should have teams from Queensland and around Australia that aren't in Sydney, they should form one conference. All the teams in Sydney, they should form a conference and they should play against each other, and then we should have also maybe like a system where the bottom team in the NRL gets relegated and the winners of the Queensland Cup and the New South Wales Cup come together and they play a finals match, a playoff final, and the winner of that gets promoted to the NRL and the bottom team from the NRL gets relegated to their respective state. And you have all kinds of crazy ideas propped up, and I just thought I'd just talk about promotion and relegation tonight and tell you my thoughts on it and why it can and why it can't work. So the first thing that is going to be on everyone's minds when it comes to promotion and relegation is going to be money. So where's the money coming from? How are teams going to get paid that get promoted from the New South Wales Cup or the Queensland Cup? How are the teams that are going to get relegated from the NRL, how are they going to be reimbursed? How are they going to survive? When you actually look at the TV deal, so the last TV deal for the NRL was worth 2 billion Australian dollars. And if you compare that to see like the English Premier League, our television deal here is worth £5 billion, which is about 10 billion Australian dollars. So it's almost 5 times the amount of the television deal. Also here with the Premier League, when a team gets relegated, they get this thing called a parachute payment, which is about 100 million, I think it's about £100 million they get given. It gets deposited in their bank if they get relegated. So it stops teams from free falling and going out of business, basically. That's what it's there for. So there's not like that in place in the NRL at the moment. And I don't think that the NRL could probably afford that type of a parachute payment system if there was a promotion and relegation situation. Another thing would be the actual size of the competition in some of these countries that have promotion and relegation as opposed to the NRL. When you look at football in England or you look at football in France or some of the other codes across Europe, there's quite a number of professional teams. So outside of the professional division, there's a lot of teams that if they do get promoted that can come up, and a lot of those divisions are actually quite competitive. With Australia, they've only got the 16 NRL sides, and outside of that, you got the New South Wales Cup and you got the Queensland Cup, but nearly all those sides are affiliated with an NRL side in some capacity. So a lot of them are basically just reserve grade sides of that NRL team, which is not the case that you get in the English Premier League or football divisions in South America and all those other countries that have promotion and relegation. If say, for instance, magically the NRL introduced promotion and relegation, which clubs could actually honestly put their hand up and say that we're ready, that we could get promoted to the NRL and we could be ready in, say, a couple of months for the new season? When I look at the New South Wales Cup, there's only 2 sides, and I'm actually stretching this here. There's only 2 sides I think that could realistically be competitive, have a fan base, have a ground, and could actually do something in the NRL, and that's North Sydney. North Sydney's got North Sydney Oval. They've got a fan base that would probably flock back to watch the matches. They've got like a board. They've got all that keeper put in place. The only thing that North Sydney don't have is finances. Financially, they're not a rich club. They've been out of the NRL for, it's coming up to I think 22 years it's going to be now that they've been out of the NRL. So they don't have a lot of money, trust me. I've been to their games. They don't have a lot of money. Newtown, they've got a very small but dedicated fan base. They do get some decent crowds to the New South Wales Cup. They've got Ensign Park, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be allowed to play NRL matches at Ensign Park. It wouldn't meet the NRL standards of today. One thing I mentioned about Newtown is that when they were the Sydney Roosters Eastern Suburbs feeder club, when the Sydney Roosters ditched them as the reserve grade side and decided to go with Wyong, Newtown come out and said basically, if we don't have a feeder side, we're kind of fucked here, and I don't think that we'd be able to continue with the New South Wales Cup. We might have to drop out. So I think Newtown's got the history, they got some supporters in that, but financially, would they have the money, would they have the resources to go up to the NRL? I don't think so. Other clubs in the New South Wales Cup that do have a bit of history and do have a bit of a following, Wentworthville, but once again, very tiny. Their ground, Ringrose Park, only holds about 5,000 people, so I don't think that they'd be able to go up to the NRL. And then you've got Mounties. Mounties are a massive club in the lower divisions of Rugby League in Australia, but compared to the NRL, they're a very small fish in a big pond. And when you look at the Queensland Cup, who could put up their hand there and say, look, we're ready, we could go into the NRL tomorrow or in a couple of months? And I've looked through some of the clubs, and the only one that really stands out to me is Redcliffe. Redcliffe is the only side. All the others, Mackay, Cutters, Townsville, Blackhawks, Central Queensland, all them, I don't think any of them would be able to survive in the NRL if there was a promotion relegation system. You also have to look, with the English Rugby League here in this country, in the three divisions, there's 37 professional clubs. With, I think, in the bottom division of the English Rugby League, there is, I think, a couple of semi-professional clubs, and even in that division, they're professional. So all the players, they don't have any other job. Their job is to play for that club, and they're paid a wage. Whereas in Australia, there's only 16 NRL clubs. All the other clubs below, so all the players that play for North, that play for Newtown, that play for Mounties, Redcliffe, that are actually contracted to that club, they're all part-timers. I know a lot of the North Sydney players, for instance, I know a lot of them, when they're not playing rugby league, they're carpenters, they're bricklayers, accountants. You don't get that here with the English Rugby League here. Everyone's professional. So I think in some ways, promotion and relegation, not only has it been part of the fabric of the game here and part of the culture for so long, but the clubs here are all professional, even down to the third division, whereas in the NRL they're not. So when it comes to promotion and relegation, another thing is player talent. So with a 17th and 18th team, you have people like Andrew Johns and people in the media that go, do we have enough player talent to have a 17th and 18th team? There's even questions about that. So see for instance, like the NRL said we're going to bring in promotion relegation. That would mean that all the teams in the New South Wales Cup and Queensland Cup would have to all of a sudden not be affiliated to an NRL club to begin with, and they'd have to have their own contracted players. So if you look at some of the New South Wales Cup and Queensland Cup sides, a lot of their sides are made up of players that are contracted to the NRL club that can't make the side, so they're playing for that feeder club. I think for Newtown, and North, they've only got about 6 or 7 players that are actually contracted to North Sydney and Newtown and no one else. So I'm not too sure if there would be enough player talent if all of a sudden all these lower grade sides had to find their own players and not have to rely on an NRL affiliate. Another thing, as I just touched on earlier, I don't think there's enough teams for a promotion and relegation system. You also have to look at financially as well, what I forgot to mention earlier. Just see, for instance, like a Canberra or someone like that got relegated to the lower division. I mean, they're going to be financially very worse off. And also, are they going to have are they still going to have the following? Are people still going to go and watch their games that they're in the second division? And who's gonna watch on television the second division games? I'm not too sure if it will work in that way. Another thing is what I want to talk about with promotion and relegation. I think when it comes to, especially here in England, people are fanatical when it comes to sport, especially football, rugby union. It's part of the fabric, it's part of the culture to go to the matches, to be involved with the club, to live, fight and die for the club. That's why so often there's so many fights and scuffles and everyone's so passionate about it. That's why the away fans have to be kept away from the home fans, because for some people, especially, well, for I think the majority of people, it's a matter of life and death. Staying in the Premier League, staying in the first division, beating clubs around you, it's life and death. Whereas when I lived in Australia, I noticed that culturally, you might hate another team, but you don't necessarily hate the fans and want to kill the fans of the opposition and go to their ground and trash their ground and start knocking people out and all that. It's not, I don't think, with the Australian culture, it's a bit more laid back, because I've been to games with people where they go, oh, I fucking hate Penrith or whatever, but they'll sit next to a Penrith fan and have a bit of banter and joke. You can't do that here in England. So I think culturally as well, with promotion relegation, because it's been so long that it's been part of the fabric of this country and a lot of other European countries, it's accepted. Whereas I don't think there's any major competition in Australia that has promotion and relegation. So I think for culturally, and also when it comes to actually following the clubs, if you've noticed with the NRL, if a team has a bad year, the attendances drop off massively. Whereas with clubs here that get relegated, they have such a fanatical following that, okay, the crowds might drop a little, but the crowds are still pretty big compared to what you'd get in the NRL or the AFL. Teams, even down as further as the third division, people will still go out in droves to watch their team play, which is something that I think if, say, like a Penrith got relegated or someone like that, would people still fanatically go to the second division games and watch them run out against Mounties or, I don't know, Belrose or something like that? I'm not too sure if they would. And also, I think with the reason why promotion relegation works so well in this country as well is the distance between clubs and getting to places and that. I mean, I could jump in a car and be halfway across the country here in England, whereas it's about a 12-hour drive just to get from Brisbane to Sydney. So I think distance as well is another thing that would probably downplay promotion relegation. But anyway, that's just me thoughts. This is just a bit of a video, a bit of a rant about promotion relegation. Me personally, I don't think it could work in Australia. I think that the way that things are at the moment, it's working just fine. I think promotion and relegation would probably knock things up. So hopefully promotion and relegation never comes to the NRL. Anyways, everyone, that's my video. If you think promotion relegation can or cannot work, you let me know in the comment section below. And if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you have not yet subscribed, I'm looking to get to 650 subscribers. That's my next goal. Anyways, everyone, I'm going to get out of here. This is Rugby League History signing off. And I'll catch us all later in the next video. Alright, ta-ra.